Looking upward, I surveyed the ceiling of my prison. It was some 30 or 40 feet overhead and constructed much as the side walls. A slight noise attracted my notice, and looking to the floor, I saw several enormous rats traversing it. They had issued from the well, which lay just within view to my right. Even then, while I gazed, they came up in troops, hurriedly, with ravenous eyes, allured by the scent of meat. From this it required much effort and attention to scare them away. Edgar Allan Poe, The Pit and the Pendulum. Welcome back to the Well House Exorcism. This is your ghost of a host with the most, Shanna.
It's Puckwell PJ.
That's right. And for part 2 of Eastern State Penitentiary, we have a special guest, and that is...
Hi, Carrie.
Can we say you're Carrie from Stephen King? Because that would be
yes, because it's spelled the same way.
You know, I was looking at my phone the other day of like all the parents I talked to for my gifted students and whatnot. And I have like 5 Carries in my phone, and you're all about the same age. So I'm wondering if you were named after a certain book/movie.
Here's the thing. I believe my mom said I had an Aunt Carrie.
Oh, okay.
But my mother is a very big Stephen King fan. Like,
could also be Carrie, what's her last name? Oh my gosh, I feel so terrible. But
Fisher?
Yes. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So, no surprise. And you all have it spelled the same way with an I-E.
Really?
So, yeah. My phone is just all Carries, all the way down.
That is odd, because I always thought I had such a weird name growing up.
My name's Shanna. Like, you can't.
My dad wanted to call me Crystal from that soap opera.
Oh,
what was that soap opera?
my.
It was the horror soap opera.
Horror soap opera. There was a horror soap opera?
Dark Shadows.
Oh,
Dark
Dark Shadows.
So, and then my cousin, who is like a sister to me, her name is Christine. So we have 2 Stephen King books. We have Christine and Carrie.
Do. Nice.
Yes.
One's covered in blood, one's like, we'll take it. We'll take it. All right, so we have you here because you're just mildly obsessed with Eastern State.
Obsessed is the correct word.
Not mildly. No adverb for you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. So this is part 2. In part 1, if you are listening, you will go back and listen to part 1 because that is the history, the very big overview of what Eastern State is, the idea behind the Pennsylvania system of jailing, the idea of penitentiaries being a place for penitence and kind of fixing the moral person. Part 2, this one's going to be all about personal stories, and it's all Carrie. I'm just going to sit here and smile. And then part 3 will be all the spooky stuff and all the hospital crazy doctor stuff with Jackie. She's one of our most devout listeners, and she's also a nurse. So she's in charge of discussing like the iron gag and whatnot.
I know.
Dr. Bacon.
The iron gag, or when the water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's scary stuff. No, thank you.
Yeah. The idea of being splashed with water and then hung out in the middle of winter. Like, this is Pennsylvania. Like, it's cold.
That's
for an
some
entire night.
Elizabeth Boutery stuff right there.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, whenever I go to Eastern State, it could be the dead of summer, and it is cold. I'm always freezing in that building. I don't know when you visited.
That's funny.
Oh, we were.
I was
Were
sweating.
you burning? I'm
Yeah.
always cold.
It was like
cold.
oppressive and like claustrophobic and just
Yeah,
heavy.
When I go there, I just feel like a sense of sadness. You know, I think of
Really?
all the sad people, like how many people just suffered there, you know? So I just get this big sense of sadness. I just feel sorry for them. So
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the time I'm just praying for all the souls as I'm walking through it quietly. I just feel so bad, like, because you know what Ben Franklin wanted. You know the idea behind like the 2-year stay tops one person up to 8 years, you know, and then people getting their hooks in it to make money, you know. It's like the idea is overturned by human folly, really. But I feel so terrible for people who were there and what they experienced, because you shouldn't be tortured in a jail.
And this is why I love Eastern State also. Like, why it makes me so happy. It's living history. Mm-hmm. It's teaching us what happened so we don't repeat it again, even though it sometimes does.
Yeah.
And that's sad too. But it's so amazing there. I love it. I'm a big Philly fan. I love Philadelphia. I love the history of Philadelphia, good, bad, or ugly. And Eastern State was my first love.
I feel like it's a good example of a failed experiment, you know? And I think that's why I love Pennsylvania and I'm a homebody and I love to come back to PA, is we were one of the first states, you know, and we were we were the capital of the United States for a while.
Keystone State.
Yes, we were the Keystone States. But, you know, like, you know, Philadelphia was so important to the beginning of America. We have that, even yellow fever happened. You know, we have that whole 1793 issue. And so, like, we have all of our founding fathers are from there. Edgar Allan Poe lived there for a good portion of his life. My first love. So you just got...
Is it bad that my first love is a building?
No, because my first love is a guy who wrote all the melancholy. And I did use him as a quote, you know, for this. And I've always wondered if Pit and the Pendulum is in a way based off of Eastern State.
Well, here's the thing. He and Dickens, right?
Charles Dickens.
Because it was one of the places he wanted to visit when
They're
he came
best
here.
friends. Yes,
You
they
would
were.
think they would walk down those hallways together.
Yeah. He's never mentioned. But you have to infer that he lives so close to it anyway, you know, because the Poe house is in with I say walking distance, but we're used to walking around everywhere, so it's walking distance for me. But just like, it's so visceral, and the idea of being put in the hole, or the Klondike as they called it, you know, like, I just feel that Pit and the Pendulum is based off of Eastern State. And listeners, if you know that, Charles Dickens and Edgar Allan Poe were besties. They really were. And The Raven is 100% based off of Charles Dickens' Raven that he hated, named Grip. His dad brought it to their house, and his dad was penniless all the time and asking for money. But, of course, he gives it to Dickens' children, so he can't get rid of the stupid bird. It's like, oh, they have a pet. Thanks, Dad, you know. And so Grip the Raven lived in the carriage house because his wife could not take the vulgar words the parrot had learned.
Fun.
Yes. Seriously. And actually, if you go to the museum there in Philadelphia, Grip the Raven is stuffed, and he's on display.
I hate to say this, but I haven't been to the Poe House.
Well, no. There's the museum in Philadelphia.
A museum in Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah, but if you look, Grip the Raven's actually on display, and that was the basis. Because originally, the Raven was going to be a parrot.
I don't
Can you imagine?
think that would work.
I know.
Would it be called the parrot?
I know. Poe wanted a creepy bird, and there was
Nevermore.
and if you read his philosophy of composition, he's discussing how, like, he wanted something creepy, and, you know, birds are symbolic of death, but, you know, crows, a group of crows is called a murder. They don't really repeat words. They're very intelligent, but he needed an animal that would, like, speak. And he's like, I was stuck. I didn't want to use a freaking colorful parrot, but what
Parrots
else
aren't
can
scary.
you use? I know.
And like when parrots like random have their mental freakouts, they're like, it's like, shut up!
Shut up.
Poe's on a comedy tour would have made lots more money. But in talking with Dickens, you know, through letters and whatnot, and all his international tours and whatnot, he learned about Grip, and he's like, "What a great idea! A raven! It's black, it's scary, they're humongous. They look like big crows. I love it." And ravens are natural to Pennsylvania, so you'd think he would have thought of a raven.
Yeah, right.
But
Well, not too many people know they talk, though.
yeah, that's
not
true. That's true.
common.
Yeah. So, yeah, it could have been a parrot. But thanks to Charles Dickens, the raven exists. And even though it's a great poem, I don't think it's his best work. It's what he's most renowned for. Yeah, I love Poe. PJ knows that if Poe were alive, he would have no chance.
Yeah.
I love you.
Though you don't like that one picture of him smiling.
No, he's not.
Does he have a creepy smile? I don't think I've ever seen
Well,
a
it just
picture
looks
of him smile.
wrong. It looks wrong to see Edgar Allan Poe smiling.
The thing is, he was a big jokester in real life.
yeah, I
He was
know.
like us. He was like the funniest guy in the whole world. He was
Yeah.
life of the party, but his writing was all dark and macabre. I love it.
Yeah, there's one painting of him
How much
smiling.
I love the macabre.
That's right. See?
You've been in my house. So
We've
you
been
know.
fighting over this guy. Anyway, so you're here to tell your stories. I would like to start off by telling a story from one of my friends. Her husband asked to keep his name anonymous, which I am okay with.
Okay.
But so they went on a trip to Eastern State. Okay, so since part 2 is all personal stories and our feelings and our opinions about Eastern State, they went there, and her husband is like the most gentle, humble person you can imagine. Not that he doesn't believe in ghosts, he's religious. He doesn't really think much about them. He doesn't think they bother him. He's a strong, military kind of guy. They go into Eastern State, and this happens to him. Now, our viewers, or listeners, I should say, cannot see this, but I want you to see it first, Carrie.
Before we...
You see that?
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah. See that? Yeah. So on the back of his neck, something scratched a crucifix onto him. And Megan was behind him, and she heard him go, ow, ow, what is that? And they pull down his shirt, and big scratch of a cross. And this is not a guy who would lie. Like, that happened at Eastern State to her husband. So there is some spooky stuff going on in there. But I can say I've never really felt scared when I'm there, except Death Row gives me a weird vibe.
Yeah. Well, I actually learned something about that, but we'll talk about that next episode.
Okay.
The first time we were there...
We can talk about it now.
Okay.
It's okay.
Well, the first time we were there, Death Row definitely had a weird feeling for me. The second time we visited, I was like taking a picture of a hallway, and there's this guy behind me, he was taller than me, so he just like took a picture of over me.
Over you.
And so I took a picture of the hallway, and I started to walk away, and I felt eyes on me. So I turned back and took a picture of like the second story of the same hallway, and then like I start walking away, and I see the guy like notice my double take, and so he leans. He's like, "What's he looking at up there?
What's going on up there?"
There wasn't anything in the picture, but and the other story of me is I bought a gimbal for my phone, and to just have the footage nice and smooth and everything. It kept failing on me. The battery was not dead. It would just, because it stayed on, it would just, because, it's designed to keep the phone steady, and it would just go, ooh, and, lose power to the motor, and just kind of sway back and forth, and I had to, turn it off and turn it back on to reset it. And that happened to me 3 times, and before I just gave up and put it in my pocket.
Wow. Creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I just felt sad the whole time.
Oh,
for
so
the people who were there.
Should I talk about Death Row?
Go ahead.
So I watched Portals to Hell, Jack Osborne's show.
Okay.
No, he's a good. He's one that he's better than Zach Baggins.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And there it was. A ghost in the wind. No. Zach Baggins. But they took a psychic around the place, and they're like, do not tell her anything about the place, just have her walk from place to place. And they get to the second story of Death Row, which most people are not allowed in the second story of Death Row, but they got up to the second story, and immediately she's like, there's something up here. And she's like, it's not human. She's like, this is where it wants to be, though. It could leave if it wants to, but this is where it's comfortable. And they're like, yeah, we're not coming back here. And
we don't know. Is this just Chipmunk hanging out? It's not human.
Yeah, it's not human.
Well,
it's
there
just
was
comfortable.
Pep the dog.
Pep the dog.
I know. Such a trooper.
Poor Pep.
Well,
the
there's an
goodest
update.
dog.
There was an update for Pep. I don't know if you...
He wasn't actually sent to jail.
Well, most likely.
Yeah.
Because they did some research, and they found documentation of a man who donated a dog to
Right.
the...
I didn't think he really killed the mayor's cat or something like that. I thought it was there to make the prisoners a little more happy and have
He was actually the goodest dog.
the goodest dog. Yes, the goodest.
Anyways.
All right, so I just felt sad the whole time. Death Row does creep me out a little bit. But that was pretty much it. Laura and Ray found it really fascinating. Laura said she was just warm the whole time. We were both fanning ourselves.
Oh my gosh, it was very warm. Yeah.
I think her general opinion was you can just feel the history. There's just, when you're there, you can see how impenetrable the walls are. You can see the wagon wheel, sure, but you can see how small the doors are to get into these rooms and how small they are. You can feel the claustrophobia. So there's just a feeling of oppression, I think, for most people when they go there. I just felt sad. Although the doors don't bother me because I'm short. So I was like, all right, it's cool.
You just have to duck a little bit.
Just imagine
Just a little.
what it looked like for the city of Philadelphia back then, because it was
Yeah.
up on the mountain or a hill, because it was called
It's in Francisville.
Right. So they were able to look upon this big, huge castle-like fortress
It's very gothic.
and be scared.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go there. You know what they do there? They put you in the iron gag.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
There's a thing called a mad
And that was the
chair.
whole purpose, to look like this medieval castle to, what's the word, like repel people from.
To inspire good and moral behavior.
That's it.
but then I look at it and I go, oh my God. I'm in love.
I feel terrible, but when you're listening to the original like audio tour, and they say the original sentence was supposed to be like at max 2 years in solitary, like, by yourself. You get an hour outside in your exercise yard, and you don't talk to anybody. I looked at Laura and I said, honestly, this would just, I could do that. I know that sounds terrible.
It
But-
sounds great. But then when you're in it,
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
But the idea is like they give you all the things that you need. They had plumbing, which no one else really had the time period. So you're getting like a nice
right,
house.
the White House didn't even have it yet.
I know.
Those hoods, though, that's creepy.
Okay, well, yeah.
That,
But like I honestly, you know, after being stuck with children all day, every day, and then like being a teacher and having more children to deal with.
Especially when you're with mine and he's just a chatterbox.
Oh, he's one of 80. It's fine. Oh, I don't know. Like reading the Bible's fine too, because you know, like I'm a Christian. I read the Bible for fun when I was a kid.
And they did some little like little chores.
Yeah,
in
you
there
had
and
a
stuff like that,
job.
right?
See, like
chess.
yeah, they played a lot. Well, that was when it became an actual prison versus a penitentiary.
True, yeah, that was later.
Yeah, the penitentiary, like you learned a craft. So like I could go and learn how to be a cobbler too, like, and make great cookies. Badoom cheek.
Ah,
You're welcome.
In theory, it sounds
that was a
great.
Keebler.
Yeah, Keebler, cobbler, whatever. Anywho, but we're here for you, Carrie. So I know you have a lot to talk about, and this is your first love. So take it away.
Well, it was my first love, but I didn't want to go there. I was in Philadelphia for the first time in my life. I was early 20s. It was probably like 2003. And my boyfriend...
We were still in high school.
I'm sorry. I'm a Gen X. And I didn't want to go. My boyfriend at the time went downstairs in the hotel. You know, there's little pamphlets that they have, and he brings it up, and he's like, we should go here. And I'm like, I don't want to go to a penitentiary. I want to go see the Museum of Art. I want to run up the rocky stairs. I want to see where the Declaration of Independence was signed. I want to do
the
that.
Liberty Bell.
Exactly, which I did end up going to.
Yeah.
You have to when you're in
Exactly. We were driving. I was like, okay, I'll give it an hour. We'll be there for an hour, and then we'll go on to better things. So I'm driving down that road, that one-way road to Eastern State Penitentiary, and I look up and I see the wall, this huge wall, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. What is this beautiful building in the middle of Philadelphia? So we park, and I'm running to this building, happier than a pig. And I go in, and you just feel the heaviness come over you. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, this place, yes, I feel like home, and I'm in love, and this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. And
It is gorgeous.
it's
Yeah.
gorgeous, and I can't believe people built this with their hands. And do you know that man only won $100 for that?
You mean John Haviland?
Yes, $100. $100. Can you imagine how much was $100? Like nowadays, $100 is like
Well, that time the building was the most expensive building that was ever built in Pennsylvania, and I believe the world.
Yeah.
yes, I believe so.
$800,000, I think it took to build it.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and you go down those cute little stairs to where you go to get your.
And they're all
Headphones.
worn
Yes.
out from all the feet that
Well, we're
have
talking
been
about
walking on them.
2003, and you had to sign a waiver. Depending on where you had to go, you might have to put on a helmet to protect your head. And I'm reading the waiver, and it's like, waiver stuff. If you trip, it's not our fault. Please don't, touch the walls. There's asbestos, the whole 9 yards. And as soon as you walk out of that room, it was again, and in love but heavy.
Yeah.
That heavy feeling when you walk in there is just.
It's constant.
I don't
even
think
when you're out in the yard.
I've ever felt that in a building before. I mean, I was young. This was my first heaviness I've ever felt like this. And as soon as I walked in, I was in love. I was in love with the history. I couldn't believe this was here in America. And where was this my whole life? Why didn't I hear about this in school and anything? And I'm just listening to the audio, which is done by, what's the actor?
Steve Buscemi.
We learned if you listen to it, it's Steve Buscemi, not Stephen Buscemi. I still say it's Buscemi. I don't care. I don't care. He pronounced his own name. I don't care, Steve. You got it wrong. He'll just say Buscemi.
But I walk in, I get done with the first cell block, and then you're in the middle room. And then it's, again. And there's one part, back then you go up those little stairs and you come back down. What is that cell block? It's the 2-store one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I do that, and then I'm up there. I'm up there, I'm taking pictures. There's nobody there. Sorry. There's nobody there. So I'm walking downstairs, and I'm just constantly seeing people upstairs. I'm like, who are these people upstairs? Like, why can't I get upstairs? So I walk up to an employee, and I'm like, can I get upstairs with those people? Like, what's going on? And she's like, there's no people up there. What are you talking about? And I'm like,
we gotta take her away, guys.
I'm like, I'm seeing people going in and out of cells up there. And she's like, no, there's nobody up there. They're not allowed up there. There's nobody up there. So that was my first spooky.
Ghost experience.
Yes. I can't say ever, but because when I was little, there's a whole different story. But anyway, where I was like, oh, this place is.
It's real.
It's deep. It's real. If there's any place that would be haunted or have anything, it would be there. It would have to be there because it's just terrible and beautiful at the same time. Not what happened to these people, these poor people, but just the back and forth of the feeling was gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it gets you.
Because I felt happy and sad at the same time, and I'm seeing things that I can't explain. And I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm like, Mom, do you know this place? She's like, of course I do. Don't you watch The Ghost Hunters? I'm like, what is The Ghost Hunters? What are you talking about, Mom? So that was really my first experience in there. And then, of course, The Ghost Hunters. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years after my first visit there. First of all, spent the whole day there. Wasn't an hour.
We were
till
there
it's
for
closed.
a good couple hours, yeah.
I was there from opening to closing that day, and then the next day.
Oh, wow.
Opening to closing. But then I went to see the Liberty Bell.
Good. Got to get some other history in there.
Exactly, which is beautiful. And I
Fine,
would go
I'll
to.
see the Liberty Bell.
It's cracked. I don't want to see this piece of crap.
Liberty Bell, just everything,
Bell
ran
that
up those
came in
rocky
the ring.
stairs.
Terminal Market.
Oh, that's the market. The market.
The Reading Terminal, yeah.
Such great. Get your cheesesteak there. Nowhere else.
Or gyro. They make good gyros
They do.
in there, too.
They make everything good there.
Parking is free if you get your parking ticket across.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Listeners, if you're in Philadelphia, the Reading Terminal,
Yes.
go there.
Or Jack's
Unless-
Firehouse.
Or Jack's
yeah.
Firehouse. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so you're going to listeners, spend 3 days in Philly because you got to see Liberty Bell, obviously. But when you're done with Eastern State, you just walk across the street, literally, to it looks like a firehouse.
It is an old firehouse.
I forget what year. Was it 1907?
It looks old. Definitely looks
It
old.
has a sign that says Jack's, and I'm like, Carrie said to go to the firehouse, and PJ's like, this looks like a
It's
firehouse.
a firehouse.
But it says Jack's. It doesn't say firehouse. Well, we were happy to be there.
It looks like the old Ghostbusters headquarters.
Yes, it
You know,
does. They
it's-
still have the bar that you can slide down in the middle of the dining room. Did
Yeah.
you see it?
We saw all of it. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
gorgeous.
there's a dining room up there. I guess you can rent to
cool.
weddings or parties. But
Anyway,
Ghost
back to you.
Hunters.
Yes, Ghost Hunters.
I was lucky enough to go on a ghost hunt with them at Eastern State Penitentiary. Of course, I had to pay for it. There was other people. It was about 3 days of events.
Oh, wow.
And they split you up, and it was a great time. To be in Eastern State in the darkness was insane. I think I sent you a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a picture with my flashlight on. I took a picture with my flashlight off. It was pitch black.
See that.
Oh, really?
I
I
sent
it
it to only my Facebook messages.
Okay.
And
Carrie and I are friends, PJ. She sends me things that you don't get.
so the first section that we went into was the, I forget if it was still back 12, 14, 13, but it's the infamous episode when the ghost hunters are there and they get that black figure running upstairs. So I'm up there, maybe like, I think it was Jason and Steve and maybe Grant and some other people and maybe 3 or 4 of us who paid to be there, of course. And I'm getting out my stuff, my little recorder, my little gadgets. Everything has fresh batteries in it. And all of a sudden, everything just dies. Just completely dies. Almost like what happened to you with your incident with your camera thing.
Yeah.
But just
Gimbal.
like everything dies. So I'm like, what's going on? So I have my little book bag full of extra batteries. And I'm like, I'm putting new batteries in. And then one by one, everybody's batteries just die. I'm like, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I mean, you always like in your mind, you always think of a way to
Explain
explain
it
these
away.
things, explain it away so you don't scare yourself. I mean, that's why our mind does what it does, right?
Yeah.
So we were just all looking at each other and we're like, okay, all right. So we're going in and out of the rooms, the cells, and the scratches start to happen on somebody who's walking with me. And I'm looking at her back and I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is my first time ghost hunting in my life or experiencing ghost hunting. And I'm seeing this happen with my own eyes. And I'm like, what?
Did it make a fun design, like a crucifix?
It was just scratches down the back.
oh.
It was completely, you could see the hand, like
Oh, yeah.
you could make it out completely. And I'm like, she goes, I just felt like it was burning. Like I felt burning.
That's what he said, the husband. Yep.
Just burning. And I'm like, okay. So, we leave that section and, it's even heavier at night.
Well, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm freezing because every time I go to Eastern State Penitentiary, I am cold. And I can't explain that either. Why am I so cold? Then I, it's the end of the night, and it's almost time for me to leave. So I'm like, okay, I'm saying goodbye to everybody. We're doing little recordings here and there. And I leave. And I'm in the car with my boyfriend at the time. And I keep on looking behind me in the back seat. And I'm like, what is going on? So I keep on looking in the back seat. And I'm like, why do I feel like somebody is sitting in the back seat of my car? So, you kind of like explain it away. Oh, I'm just scared.
Got the
because
jitters.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a long
Primed
night.
yourself.
Right. So go home. And it's the next day. And my boyfriend at the time is at work. And I'm home. And I'm upstairs. I'm doing the laundry. And I hear something. So I come downstairs. So it was one of those staircases that wasn't straight down staircase. It was like
It turns like mine. Yeah.
So I'm on the landing. And all of a sudden, push. Down the stairs.
Isn't that the most annoying but also horrifying moment? Like, because that happened to me in the basement, like the top here where the landing is. I
Right.
got shoved down twice by something. And the first time I explained it away. The second time, I was angry.
Oh, I was angry.
It's like, it's a staircase. Don't break my neck. I don't want to join you. Not in this basement. Well, now I would, but before it was scary down here.
Oh, I was so angry. I was crying because I
course.
hurt my tailbone.
Yeah.
But I was angry. And I'm sitting on the bottom of that case, and I'm screaming at whoever did this. I am saying words that I won't say because my mother will
Thank you.
probably listen
Yes,
to.
my podcast doesn't have bad words on it.
And then I say to whoever pushed me, get out of my house. You want to be here? You could get the garage. You could go in the garage. You stay in the garage. You are in the garage. Get into the garage, and that is where you're staying. You're not welcome anywhere else but my garage right now.
Leave my car alone.
So that happened, and nothing really happened in the house again. There was a death in the house, so like I kind of felt good about that because the person who passed away was my boyfriend at the time's grandfather, and he was a sweet, sweet man. So I kind of felt safe that way. So every time I went into the garage, I was like, next time I go to Eastern State Penitentiary, you're coming with me. It is time
Get in the car. You're going
go
home.
Exactly. And tell you the truth, I did that. And I never experienced anything at home again. No, you walk around like, you better be there. You're not in that garage still, are you? So I want to say the next day.
I wish yelling at it would have made our thing go away.
I know, right?
I see part of me is like, was that smart?
Well, they say you're supposed to like take control and like, be empowered. But ours is a demon, so.
Mine just probably stole a horse and was there for 2
Yeah,
years.
right.
Because that was like the most common, right? Like,
That and, stealing horses and like just general larceny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to my recordings from the ghost hunting, and I'm just listening to it. And it's like mostly like just like conversations that you hear that you're having with people. And if we hear somebody walking by, you're like, okay, somebody just walked by. It's like an actual human being walking by. Oh, somebody sneezed. It was an actual human being sneezing. Like you're tagging all these things. And then I get to that recording that I sent you. I sent it to a friend of mine who I made there, and they were able to just like slice it up and, make it what it is right now. So it's not like, I haven't got to, what number was it on? It was like 300. Like, okay.
What timestamp?
Yes, exactly. I'm so happy I still have that recording. Thank goodness for emails.
Right?
Yeah.
So this was the recording I heard, and the chills.
From 2003 or?
4 or 5-ish.
Okay.
We were graduating high school. Okay. One more time.
I know. It's sad and scary at the
What's
same
it
time.
saying, Carrie?
It's saying, help me, please.
Yeah, so if you listen,
So let's
guys.
play one more game.
Yep. It's just creepy because it sounds like a little kid, you
It
know?
does. And there was children
There
there.
were, there was a juvenile section.
Do you think it was a child or a female?
It could have been a female too, but there's
there
that
were a lot of
resonance of a
females.
child.
Yeah.
Also, babies were born there.
Oh, yeah. Just like Penhurst.
Oh, yeah. And I think one of the warden's daughters, like one of his granddaughters were born there, I think.
And one of them actually was taught by an inmate too, who she called, I think, Mammy or something like that.
I don't know how I feel about having children there when it was running. That seems very scary for a child at that time.
Yeah.
Like, I would not have handled it. I'd been like, no, thank you. Goodbye.
The fact that they have like kids, like 14-year-olds there really bothers me. But anyway, so fantastic EVP.
Right?
I feel,
Scary and sad.
But that's why I just feel
crazy.
sad when I'm there. I just get this feeling of sadness. Anyway, so you got that. Then what happens?
Well, I went back to Eastern State Penitentiary.
Of course you did.
And I bring everybody that I meet or love there. Like my husband who was sitting behind me or next to me. I love Eastern State Penitentiary. It is scary. Every time I'm there, something happens. You get touched. You hear something. It's a little insane. I befriended some people who work there, and I was lucky enough to say, can I go upstairs in the guard tower? Sure. Now that is scary. If you do not like heights, I would not go up there at all.
PJ, I have a new trip
See,
for you.
I would do it anyways.
Well, the thing is that it is like you're on your knees, you're crawling, you're like going through little like angles, and it's
Oh, wow.
Because they built that on later,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Oh, much
Yeah,
later.
that was
Yeah.
like 50s, I think they said.
I know they built it on.
They were built on.
Yeah, they built it on later because they had a huge population, so they needed it.
Yeah, it's I guess so hard to explain because I love it there, but it's so scary and it's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, Eastern State is just filled with it. And every time I'm there, I'm like, hi guys, what's up? I'm talking to nobody, but I'm just like, hey,
Hey, Ghost, it's your boy.
do not come home with me ever again. But Yeah, I wish I can go back there at night. I mean, I've done other things at night. I've done some VIP tours at night where you get to go down into the hole, which is just a different experience. Those cells are
they're
tiny.
yeah.
Like you are crawling in there.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine like you're there to be in silent and be in solitude, and then there's that, and that's just a different level for me.
Like, I understand, having solitary confinement, but when you listen to the audio tour and they discuss the Klondike, which is the hole, like, there were people who went in there, and there was one kid named Jimmy, and I say the word kid because the way the guy told the story, he went there for about 30 days, came out, and he was, like, blind because of the sensory deprivation. And that's the kind of story you get from Pit and the Pendulum, from Poe, too, is the idea, like, what happens when you are by yourself with nothing for your brain, because your brain needs stimulation. And that's why I firmly believe, I need to do more research, but I believe that Pit and the Pendulum is based off of Eastern State, because what happens when your brain has nothing to do? It has to invent something, because your brain needs to do something, needs to see something, needs to think something. So if you are deprived of everything, scent and smell and sight, your brain's going to create things, just like you do when you have dreams. Your brain is kind of creating things and going through with the thought process and putting stuff in long-term memory. Sleep is important, but your brain needs to be active. And so that's why in the Pit and the Pendulum, you have this guy who probably was never tied to a table, never had this pendulum swing back and forth. There was never the scimitar happening, but his brain invented that, and he goes completely insane. And that's why you have, like, a lot of Poe short stories, they have that maniacal laughter, because this person goes completely insane due to being put in solitary, in a way. So I don't know. I wonder. I gotta look into it and see.
It's insane, right? I know. It's like even just not even your brain, your whole body. I mean, you're in there. You're not eating. You're not drinking enough.
Yeah.
Your body's breaking down, and you're even going crazier. It's like, what's like, especially in that hole at Eastern State.
And it's so close to death row.
And then you're in there and you can hear everything outside. I mean, when they were playing outside, when the prisoners are playing outside, which is insane. They can hear the school. There's a school behind Eastern State Penitentiary. They can hear the kids playing, and that has to be hard to deal with, especially if you're a kid there, and then you're hearing those kids outside playing.
Well, wasn't there a story about, like, when they're playing baseball, they would throw the baseball over
the fence?
Yeah, they'd,
and
like,
they would
write notes
and get drugs in, and they were trying to figure out how they were getting drugs in, and that's smart.
I'll tell you, like, yeah. And
you should have used that brain for something else, maybe. But it's smart, inventive, and it's just like.
I like how you just start a conversation about Eastern State, and Carrie's like, I know that.
Well, I did bring you the transcripts.
That's right.
For the tours, so
super exciting.
Yes,
and I get to, like, keep that, right?
Yes. I have it on my computer. It's all good. I won a contest for Eastern State Penitentiary once where they do something every Halloween. It's something different now, but back then it was a big fundraiser for them. It was called Terror Behind the Walls.
I see you're wearing the shirt.
Of course, it's my vintage Terror Behind the Walls shirt. Where I don't remember how I won. I think it was like maybe a radio station or a raffle. And I was able to go into Eastern State alone, just me and, workers. And it was their haunted house thing. Their whole thing, and it was just me able to go through that, and they all knew my name. That was probably the best haunted house I've ever been in. That moment.
Oh, because like you'd hear whispers of your name. And...
Hi, Carrie. What are you doing? Come over here. Look at this.
No, thank you. No, it's Carrie. Okay, sure.
Well, of course.
Where are we going?
When my husband and I, the last time we went to Terror Behind the Walls, they had what was it called? They would put a big red X on your face, and that means you're allowed to be touched and pulled into the scene. Yes. That was fun too, because it's just a different experience. And with the Halloween haunted houses at these historical sites, this one I love because it was to preserve. It was to fix the roofs, to fix the leaking, to open up these cells or
New
these,
areas,
right? New areas,
yeah.
the kitchen, the hole, even to
We saw several cells that were being
Yeah.
renovated when we were there.
Yeah, it's a big fundraiser for them, and they do get a lot of people there. It's insane.
Yeah.
But they don't have that anymore. They have Halloween nights, I think it's called, and it's more like speakeasies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they do the speakeasy by Al Capone's cell, and that's a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
other story. He went a little mad in there because that's when he started hearing the voices.
Jimmy.
Yep. There's actually a really cute story about his cell. Did you hear about there was a little boy who was touring Eastern State Penitentiary, and he comes over to Al Capone's cell, and he goes, "This isn't like correct. Like this radio was built in this time. Why do you have it here?"
Wow.
Yeah, and they changed the whole room around it. Because
I was going to
noticed
say,
that.
it's very
It looked
different
very-
from
yeah.
the last time we were there.
Yep.
Yep, I was like, that's a good kid, smart boy.
So proud.
Yes.
Okay, young Sheldon.
There's actually a cute little ghost story about my kitty cats, the kitty cats.
Yes, I want you have the whole story there, right?
Right, I like little notes here and there.
Okay.
I guess I'll start out with in Eastern State Penitentiary, there's a lot of art and I don't know what else you would
They
call
do
it.
like displays.
Like displays.
An art collection.
Right. When I first went to Eastern State Penitentiary, there was a woman named Linda Brenner. And she was a sculpturist, and she heard this great story about this man who I'm in love with, where he, in 1971, Eastern State closed. And he was working at the town hall. That's it, the
Okay.
town hall. He was working at town hall, and he was told, you need to take care of Eastern State Penitentiary while it's closed. You need to, go there, make sure, nobody's breaking in. So he's in there, and there is a family of cats living in Eastern State Penitentiary. And he would take care of these cats. His name is Dan McLeod, and he was known as Dan the Cat
Clan
Man.
McLeod.
And
Anyone else get Highlander references around here?
McMeowed.
Mix me out.
he was an absolute saint in my eyes. I love kitty cats so much. Cats are the most amazing thing in the world, and I'm trying to look for that. So he would feed the cats, and I want to say in 1983, maybe, he was told he needs to go back. He needs to go back to town hall and do his normal job.
Okay.
And he was like, I have all my little kitty cats here. So
Yeah.
3 days a week, every week, he would go into Eastern State Penitentiary, and he would feed these family of stray cats who were taking care of Eastern State Penitentiary, probably with their rodent problem. And he did this for, I want to say, 27 years, 28 years,
Wow.
every week, 3 days a week.
Did
He
the
would
cat
go-
family keep getting bigger and bigger because
Yes,
they weren't
I want to
spayed?
say, right, exactly. So what happened was it was about 38 to 40 cats that he was taking
Yeah,
care
that
of.
was gonna be a
Wow.
while.
And they were taking, the city was like, we're going to need to, get these cats fixed. So they took the cats, they fixed them, and they put them back into the Eastern State Penitentiary, and he was still taking care of them.
I took a picture for you because
took a
of the
picture
art.
for
Yeah,
me?
because you're going to have the art display, right?
Yes.
So go ahead.
Okay, so this lovely artist, Linda, to honor the story of Dan the Cat Man,
McMeowed. That's PJ has named him.
she made sculptures of what they were called ghost cats. And there were these beautiful sculptures of these beautiful white cats sprinkled all over Eastern State. And it was like a little game, like hide and seek, find the cats. And what I didn't know, what I learned when I was reading about Dan and Linda, every year, Eastern State Penitentiary employees would take the cats and hide them other places. So you didn't know where they were.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they were like ghosts, like find the ghost, hunt the ghost. So it was like one of my, a
For a
lot
while,
of bad.
weren't they lined up for a while outside?
Yeah,
on the way
they
in?
were everywhere. There was like, she made 39 cats.
Well, that makes sense. One for every cat that was there.
yes. And they were beautiful. They were gorgeous. And I love her too.
story for your picture that I took?
Sure.
It's the first picture I took when I walked in because I saw it. Like literally, this is us. This picture of us walking into Eastern State. This is me taking a picture of the Eastern State sign, and then I saw this and I took a picture of it for you. They still have one.
They still have a kitty. Isn't
Yeah.
it so cute? They were so white when I went there.
Yeah,
They
this
were
one's gray.
white.
Yeah, it's like I saw your picture you sent me was it. It's just one in a window. I'm guessing it's like one of the because when you look in the windows, it must be some kind of like
The offices.
Yeah, one of the
They
offices.
have offices. Because
Yeah.
when you first walk in and you're going through the doors, you can go straight.
yeah.
You go straight. That's where the line is when you do the terror behind the walls. It's that way.
Okay.
So, and that's where all the offices
Yeah,
are.
because this is like inside. So yeah, picture of a kitty cat. There's just one that I could see. But there you go.
I think they were sold. Like, I think she did sell them.
I'd
for
make
some
money. Maybe
Yeah.
just make money
Yeah.
for the renovations.
Yeah, I don't know where the money went. I couldn't find
I'm sure
out where
people
the
would
money
pay
went.
quite a bit for
Well, that's
an Eastern State cat.
the one good thing about Eastern State too is like all the money that they raise goes back to renovating it to keep this
Yes.
history alive, which
A
is
lot like
how
Penhurst.
it should go. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, so I love this man. He actually, in the prison where he fed the kitty cats, he actually hung up a beautiful quote, if I can find it on my paper, unless you know the quote by heart.
No, go ahead.
Take care of God's animals and he will take care of you. And this is a saying because I was looking up Dan and I found some his obituary because he sadly passed away. This was a saying that he just said all the time. He really believed it. He was taking care of God's animals. He was taking care of cats, which is you know me and cats.
I told you
know
he's the
me.
next Saint Francis of Assisi. That's what I decided.
We need more people like him.
We do.
And it's a beautiful, happy story that happened at a terrible place where terrible things happened. I mean, I love the place, not terrible place, but terrible things happened there.
Yeah.
And when I first went there and I heard this story, I was just so happy.
Which is there's beauty in everything.
Exactly. Because, yes, it's a beautiful building. You walk in, it's heavy. You see these beautiful white cats, and you're like, what is this? And then you learn that there is good in the world, even though this is not the place you would think good in the world would happen, But I love him. I wish I could meet him.
We will one day in heaven.
And
With all the cats.
The city, I forget what organization did this, but they actually paid him $20,000 back for the cat food that he bought out of pocket.
I'm sure it'd be, for 40 cats.
Because
Good
he took care of them out of his own pocket.
Good man.
Amazing. Love him. Love Dan, the cat man.
Dan the cat man.
And then
the
Linda-
McMeowed.
What was her last name? Linda Brenner and her ghost cats.
One's on display.
One. You can find the ghost. Go a little ghost hunting and find that ghost cat for me.
Wasn't hard to find.
Well, most cats, they want attention, right?
Yeah. This one's right there in the window.
I never heard of any stories at Eastern State Penitentiary where people see animals.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, there's a live cat now. I wanted to get spooky stories for my part 3. So we're there. I was asking different workers, okay, so what stories do you have? Because you work here. You had to have seen or heard something. No one has seen or heard anything. They've never had any experiences. But the one guy said, well, the scariest thing was I was walking down one of the cells, one of the cell blocks, and something black ran over me. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. I finally get to see something. He's like, it was a black cat. And I learned that there's a neighbor who has a black cat, and the cat just comes over here. So we feed it, and then it goes home. That was probably the most scary thing that's ever happened to me. So there is still a cat in Eastern State.
That kind of makes me very happy. I got to tell you, it's a lovely area of Philadelphia. Every time I'm walking there, I see people walking out of their, I don't know if they're brownstones, right? Are they
but they're nice.
Right.
They're
They're
gorgeous.
beautiful, and they're so kind, and they all have animals, and it's a beautiful section of Philadelphia. You can walk to the Museum of Art.
Yep.
You can walk right there, and it's beautiful. It is.
If that cat's name is not Binks or Salem, they messed up. That's all I'm saying. They had one job.
I hope his name is Dan.
Oh, that's... all right, you're right. All right, fine. Given. It's a given. All right, what other stories do you have for us?
Well, that was it, right?
That's it?
I think
All right.
so.
All right.
I believe so.
Got your
Yeah.
creepy stories. Got Dan the Man.
I love Dan the Man.
Oh, but you have a personal story about John.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So my
You're so
son.
obsessed with Eastern State.
So my son his name is John, and he is going to be 12 next month. And his first steps were right outside of Eastern State Penitentiary. In the back, there's a little playground. I think it's called the Pen, actually, that little playground. I think it's called the Pen. And he did his little first steps there. And I have a lot of pictures of him as a baby outside the walls.
Yeah, she sent me so many pictures.
Yes, because I didn't want to bring him in there. You know,
Yeah.
there at that time there was probably some more asbestos around.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Right,
you know, and we took him in 2019, right before COVID, and everything shut down. And that was the last time we went, unfortunately, because everything got shut down. And
You
we
must have gone in
moved
like,
and-
what, 2016?
That's what I'm thinking. 15,
Yeah.
16, somewhere around there.
Because I had already had Sophie and Eli. We did a trip with my reading club at our old job.
now, you know, you and I have a lot of weird coincidences. Coincidences, like the armored division, the Wolf Division.
Yes.
You know, the Hellcats.
Hellcats.
That gave me chills.
Right?
And the spooky stuff, and you know, with my son too, and wouldn't it be weird if we were in Eastern State Penitentiary at the same time?
We just didn't realize it.
Nope.
We walked past each other. I probably gave you the cold shoulder. No, if you saw the angry faces, because I was there with 50 kids.
You were there with 50 kids?
So my
It was
reading
a lot.
club,
I don't know.
it was enough.
Well, yeah.
My reading club was the most popular club at the school. Would you think, reading club of all the clubs? But it was banging, all right? Any of my listeners out there who were my former students, it was the club to be in. We did so many good things for the school, too. They had to go on field trips all the time. We'd raise so much money. We were rocking. It was a really good club. But yeah, Eastern State was probably our best trip we ever took. And I like that because we played on, I think it was the Chinese Lantern Festival, and they had...
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
They had rides, and so I was like, I'm going to go ride that carousel, but I refuse to ride anything except for the eagle. I'm going to ride that eagle. We have pictures of me going, whaa, as I'm riding the eagle. I waited in line so I can get on the eagle. I'm like, you guys go ahead of me. I'm on the next one. I'm on the next one. Like, I was just shoving people through so I can go on the eagle.
That is funny. But I bet maybe because there's other weird coincidences.
Oh, I'm sure.
Coincidences.
Coincidences.
Because before I even knew you,
Winkadinks.
you made that podcast about where I grew up, where you found the well, not you guys, where they
Oh,
found
the crone of the Catskills.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from there.
Oh yes,
Oh.
my uncle used to have a store right over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, and I was like, when I didn't know about it, so I go and I look at the history of that when it was found. So then I look at my Facebook pictures because I'm like, there was one day that I was over there and I found a huge bone. And I look at the picture, same time.
Oh my god.
Dinosaur bone.
I was like, I'm glad I did not take that bone home. Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It was pretty big. It was pretty big. But that's a beautiful area also. That
Apart from
I hear
the
the
witchcraft.
Catskill Mountains are just great
it
places
is.
to go
It is.
hiking.
It's beautiful. Like any watering spot in any city or town. Town. It's called the Blue Hole.
There's the blue hole that's down with Jersey Devil, like your
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah, everywhere there's a blue hole everywhere, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to say thank you for being here for part 2. Really appreciate.
It's a pleasure.
I'm going to call you our Eastern State
Expert.
expert. Even, I mean, you don't, because you've lived there pretty much in your entire life. So
It's my first love. You never forget your first love, right?
It's true, especially when there's so much nightmarish stuff happening.
Well, I think I first fell in love just the way it looked.
It is beautiful.
gorgeous.
We also want to give a shout out to Penny for the gifts she gave us. Already there is a Mothman squishy right in front of PJ.
He's so great.
Look at his little buns. He's got a little
Oh
butt.
my God, he's got a butt.
He's got a little butt. Penny didn't see that until
No.
I pointed out. I'm like, look at his little
Of course
tushy
you would
tushy.
notice.
It's little tushy.
It's a tushkis. A
love
tushkis,
it.
as my mom would say.
Tushkis, yeah,
A tushkis.
She got me a book. It's fantastic. So thank you, Penny. We really appreciate it. Part 3 will be all the spooky stuff that has happened or will be happening
Can't wait for
probably
that
in the
episode.
future. Yeah. And Jackie's going to go over all the disgusting but true things that happened there, medically speaking, medically torturing.
I can wait for that part.
We can wait for that part, yeah. So thank you all for listening and have a great night. And remember, think spooky thoughts.